go. Demo is underway.
Yeah,
nearly complete.
Nearly complete.
And here's some of the interesting things that we found and update on our plans.
We have just decided to take down all the paneling since we're almost there anyway. And we want to open up the whole perimeter of the space here, the whole place, so that we can do some air sealing, because there's a ton of air that blows through all these gaps and stuff here. This is a little tricky to seal because this joist is almost sitting on the wall, but we're gonna make the best of that. Here we're sticking with our plan, taking this out. We're gonna have the laundry facing this direction, but we're gonna have cabinets here. We're gonna move the refrigerator over to this location, and then we plan to put a big island here that will have seating around it, so that we don't have to have an additional table here. Then we can go straight to couches for the living room space here. You know, we are planning to get a new door in there. We were hoping to be able to get a bigger door, but they're not going to allow us to do that with the association. So at least when we get the new door, you'll be able to see through it a bit better. That one's pretty cloudy. And then in the bathroom here, we're going to be putting the bathtub back in, a new bathtub here with probably doing a surround, fiberglass surround on the bathtub, just to make it easy to clean. And it's going to be cheaper than doing tile, and since we're deciding to spend more money on the HVAC, for instance, than we originally budgeted, so we're cutting back on some of the more aesthetic things just to get the bones really strong. Great. It's a good way to keep it in budget, because 5 years down the road, we could, if we really wanted to do the tile, we could rip this around out and tile it then, and upgrade it in phases. What's going on here with the plywood and the yeah, well, so we're not really sure why they added another layer of plywood here. We did go downstairs just to look up from the bottom here. We had access from the unit below. They have a drop ceiling. We could pick up a panel and look, and we didn't see any real damage to this plywood. All right, so this is our line coming down from the toilet, our toilet line, and we are looking to see if there's any damage or extensive damage to the plywood. I mean, we have a little bit of watermarks there, but nothing major.
And that's the toilet pipe right there.
Right here, yeah. So that goes up to our flange, and there's 2 layers. There's an extra layer of plywood, so we were kind of suspicious that there might be a big rot spot, but there really is not, so that's a good thing. And it just so happens that, we do plan on leveling this space, and this, the flooring level here, we want it all to be one level because it's all going to be the same flooring. But this is more than the thickness of this low here anyway, so this will just help us to reduce the amount of leveler we need when it pours over this section. So one thing that we do have here, which is an advantage to being on 3rd floor, is we don't have this running in our ceiling, so we can push our ceiling all the way up to the bottom up here and get a full height ceiling, where if you're in these lower units, you can only go up to the bottom of that.
3rd floor advantage, top floor advantage. And
sometimes these pipes start to go over time. They can develop pinholes in them from water running through them, and so when you have the walls open, it's really a good idea just to upgrade as much as you can, because that's something you're never going to be able to get back to. There's obviously some leaking going around where the toilet was, which has caused some damage to this subfloor, which we'll cut this out and replace this subflooring here. We're
not going to leave this like this?
No, not going to leave that like that.
So the foam creates an air seal between the units, and this is necessary because the roof framing is continuous throughout all the units. Foaming these gaps will help improve the effectiveness of our HVAC systems with the added bonus of a little bit of soundproofing. They're too long. See? They don't fit. You want to see? Oh. I gotta cut them. One of these sides has a bleed. Now let's try it again. All right, moment of truth. Yay! Voila. I don't think you need the mask outside. Another day on the job. Welcome to the chaos. We're trying to choose flooring and cabinets, and I'm struggling a little bit. So I want to show you the options and what I've narrowed it down to, and I'd love for your opinion on which you like. We are going to go with the Arctic white for the countertop, and then most of the cabinets in the kitchen are going to be your standard white. And what I'd like to do is do an island in, it's going to be about a 7-foot island, so it's going to be pretty significant, and I want to choose a different color for that, a little bit different than the white. So I'm kind of leaning towards this one, but we also have the option of the blue, or this is sort of a greenish color. And then again, it's going to have the same countertop, that Arctic white. So 1, 2, or 3. I would love your vote for this. Okay, next question. This is the Cortec scratchless luxury vinyl planks, and I am really struggling. I know that these look very similar. This one has a bit more gray to it. And then, as I'll show you over here, this one is a little bit more brown and it's slightly lighter. You can see it without my shadow in the video here. And then I've put the bathroom vanity door here just to show you kind of what it's going to be going with, in addition to the white cabinets in the kitchen and the island. So, all right, darker or lighter?
All right, here's a little update. We are prepped and ready for the floor leveler. You can see we got our framing pretty much complete here. We ended up deciding to take the whole ceiling out and flatten the ceiling. You can see all of these 2x4s that are on the side of the 2x12s up there. To accommodate the low point in the ceiling, which was right there, where that light's hanging. They're pretty much flush on the bottom, all the way to a point in here where there's probably close to 3 inches of space where that's hanging down. We set all this with a laser and some straight edges and get this a nice flat plane so that when the sun is reflecting off of the water over there, coming in that door, shining across the ceiling, it'll be nice and flat. And this floor was was probably 1.75 inches out from the low point to the high point, which was way back there. And that you can see is the original subfloor, which is that gray, and then we added plywood in a layered fashion, 1/2-inch plywood, to take up some of the volume here, as opposed to getting a whole 1.75 inches of leveler in this space, which would have been extremely heavy and expensive. The plywood's a lot lighter and a lot cheaper. We got it all ready. It's really important that you foam all the gaps, any big gaps, especially anything that might be able to go down into the floor system, because the leveler is extremely thin when it pours out, so that it does self-level. So it will find any holes and it will start to run quickly into the ceiling of the unit below and possibly into the unit. So we go around the room a couple of times to make sure that all these are foamed or sealed and by caulking or anything like that. My floor guy will come in tomorrow and set up his laser, and he'll put pins on the floor that are cut to the height of the actual top of leveler. And so when we pour, and they'll also roll on a primer onto the wood, which creates a little bit of a barrier so that it doesn't suck all the moisture out of the leveler when it's drawn in there, and it allows it to level before the moisture gets sucked out in the dry plywood. The day after that, we will pour the leveler and start to bring it in. It's a pretty labor intensive when you're mixing that up, because nothing can dry before you pour the next batch, and so it's an interesting thing, and you will see it later. Here we go, we're leveling. This is how we're dealing with not wanting to put all the weight of the leveler up in the unit. About 4,000 pounds worth up there, and we're just loading them off there to mix them up, put them on the floor.
So we missed the pouring of the leveler, but this is what it looks like when it's wet. The concrete-based leveler creates a perfectly flat floor, which is not only more visually appealing, but it also makes the operations following much easier, including installing cabinets, doors, and trim, while also increasing the lifespan of our flooring because it doesn't have to bridge over any gaps.
All right, here we go. We are walking in to the place after the leveler has been done. You can see, nice, all flat floors all over here. Looks awesome. If you remember, we had the steps in the plywood, so that was coming down. This was all a couple inches low here, so much more leveler in the middle, but it's all evened out throughout this whole space, which is gonna make our LVP flooring that's going to run throughout just continuous and awesome, because it's all going to be nice and flat, no humps and bumps. So Jen and I were just in here earlier laying some lights out. So this is what we typically do at this phase, a walkthrough with the owner. This happens to be us at this particular place, and we talk about switch locations and how many switches are gonna be there, what they're gonna switch. In this case, we're gonna have an overhead light in this room, and then this also is going to switch. I've drawn some lines on the floor. We're gonna have lights in this little hall here that you can switch when you come out of this room. So you have a pathway lighting is what we try to create. So as you walk into a space, you can turn the light on, and then when you walk out of it, if I'm walking this way, I can turn the light off back there and turn the light on going that direction. And then the other thing that we like to do is figure out where the bed's gonna be, lay out the bed. You can see I put some marks on the floor here. This is the headboard of the bed is gonna be on this wall, because what we've been doing is typically putting an outlet low behind the nightstand on the side of the table, and then one above it that would have a couple USB ports in between the outlets receptacles, so that you can plug in, charge phones, whatever, and that would be on both sides of this bed. And then this wall, we would put a high outlet and a coax line for a TV hanging on the wall. Going through this area, we're going to have an island. So I haven't done it precisely yet, but I've got a layout. I'll snap lines on the floor on all the kitchen layout so that we know what's going to be where the power needs to run for the range, etc., microwave, and then lay out outlets on the counter, plus lighting in this space, as well as on the island. That's what this wire that you see hanging here is just up so nobody crushes it, but I fed that under the floor before the leveler, so that we made sure we had an outlet feed for the island. And then in this space, we're gonna have recessed lights in here, and the TV will be on that wall. And then out on the balcony, we're gonna put a couple ceiling fans out there. We already have lights in here, which we'll put on dimmers here, and we're gonna add another light above the doors to that closet over there. And there's a light in the closet. Same deal, we'll have two switches here, one to switch the light on out here and one for the bedroom light, closet light. These bathrooms are pretty small, so what I typically do is I have a fan light that I mount above the shower or the bathtub, since that's where the steam is getting generated there, so that it goes directly into the fan. These particular fans I've got from Panasonic have humidistats in the unit, so when they read the humidity levels are elevated, they will turn on automatically. And then we'll have a light over the vanity, which I think will be plenty of light for this size of a room. And while we're in here, we can also see all of our updated plumbing here. We took out all the copper in here and we moved things around slightly, but we just wanted to clean everything up. Fortunately, we have access to the bathroom below us, and they have a drop panel ceiling, so we could actually get up in there and take care of tying that stuff in from below. We use an Uponor PEX system, which is a PEX system that you use an expander, expands the ends of the actual PEX line. Put this plastic ring on there, you expand this, and then you push it over this copper nipple on the end of this fitting here, and then the PEX will actually shrink back up once you put it over there, and the ring helps it also give it a little bit of extra snugness there, seals against that. And the advantage of that versus the crimp fittings on the PEX that you'll often see, little metal fittings, little metal crimp rings, copper crimps that go on here, is that in this Uponor system, the fittings are, the inside diameter of the fittings are the same diameter as the pipe, so you don't lose any diameter in the pipe, whereas with the crimp fittings you do, because it has to be small enough to go, the fitting has to go inside of the standard, the 1/2 inch PEX or 3/4 PEX, and then the crimp ring goes around it, so you're losing a little bit of available volume there, whereas the Uponor, you don't lose anything. So it's part of the reason why we like this system. And you can see right here, so when the plumbers are finished with this, they have the water valve turned off at the inlet side of the condo where the water line comes in, so that they can pressurize these lines to make sure that they hold air, because if they hold air, we know that they'll hold water. And so this has been under pressure for about a week and a half or 2 weeks. And we leave it pressured up as long as we can, so that just in case if somebody happened to hit a pipe or something, even during drywall, for instance, then we would know right away, the pressure would drop and you would actually hear the air hiss out, and we could fix it right away. So the second bathroom is similar, and then we have the washer and dryer relocation here, which is on the back side of that main bedroom bathroom. And we made this wall double thick in order to get the washer box in here, be able to get the shower valve in here, and then I also need to get my dryer vent duct in this space. It'll go up here into the ceiling in the bathroom, which I'm going to drop, and then we go little drop chase right up at the ceiling on this bedroom that will house both of the bath vents lines and the dryer. So it's going to go out there into the ceiling of that closet that's out on the balcony, and then come out into the balcony space, which is essentially outside. So that's how we're getting these units vented. So here's the other bathroom. And initially I was planning on putting these water lines down in the floor, but decided just to keep them up high. And what we did here was just to be safe, we put some rigid foam insulation above the water lines so that we know that they're gonna stay warm with the interior space here, and there wouldn't be any risk of freezing here. And then you can see they come down behind that wall, but this is our water heater, Stiebel Eltron water heater that is an on-demand electric unit, and we have an anti-scale filter, the flush valves that allow you to clean the unit. And the way that I've got this set up is actually have to add a little bit more, one more stud to this face, and the refrigerator is going to tuck in here, which is going to hide that, but allow you to roll the refrigerator out if you need to access it for anything. But typically, you don't really need to access these. We set it at a temperature and just leave it at that temperature for the most part. And I don't really want people messing with it anyway. So with it being behind the refrigerator, it'll be less likely to be seen or messed with. So on the back side here, you can see the main shutoff for the water coming up to the building. We also have one down below the building, which is off down there right now as well. And this black spacer here is where our mow and flow control valve is going to go, which will allow us to turn the water off remotely. It hooks to Wi-Fi. It's also a leak detection device, which I'm not exactly sure how well that's going to work in this kind of a situation. I have to look a little bit more into it because it uses like an algorithm sort of thing that will read habits over the course of a few months to determine if there's an abnormal spike in water output at a random time at 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And it will, send an alert, and if you don't do anything, it will actually shut the water off. And so what I read was that sometimes, people put these in their house, and they might have their son or daughter come home from college, let's say, and they're used to being up all night, and they are taking a shower at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they will get in the shower and it reads it as a leak and it shuts the water off halfway through the shower, which obviously we don't want that to happen. So we will have to play that one out to see if we can, how we're going to work with that, if we can disable the actual function of it turning it off or not. We will see. So until next time.